My husband secretly took out a massive loan using our children's college fund as collateral to gamble on sports betting. And now, I have no idea what to do. My husband has secretly taken out a massive loan using our children's college fund as collateral to gamble on sports betting. I am reeling. I don't even know where to begin. We've been married for 15 years. Dylan and we have 2 kids, a daughter, Lily, who is 12, and a son, Ethan, who is 10. We always considered ourselves financially responsible. We both worked hard. I'm a project manager at a tech company, and Dylan is a software engineer. We weren't extravagant, but we were comfortable. We made sacrifices to ensure our children would have opportunities we didn't. Chief among those was their college education. From the moment Lily was born, we started a 529 plan for each of them. Every month, a significant portion of our income went into those accounts. It was a non-negotiable part of our budget. We envisioned them going to good schools, starting their adult lives without crippling debt. It was our shared dream, a cornerstone of our family planning. Yesterday, I received a notification from our bank about unusual activity on our joint account. It was a routine fraud alert, thankfully, but it prompted me to log into our online banking to review everything. And that's when I saw it. A loan. A personal loan for an astronomical amount. An amount that made my stomach drop to my feet. I clicked on the details, my hands shaking. The loan was taken out by Dylan, just Dylan, a week ago. The purpose listed was personal expenses. Fine print at the bottom of the loan agreement mentioned collateral. My blood ran cold as I read the words. Collateral, Children's 529 College Savings Accounts. I reread it, thinking I must be misreading. But no, there it was, in black and white. He had used our children's college funds as collateral for this massive, reckless loan. I felt like the air had been punched out of my lungs. I printed out the loan agreement, my hands trembling so badly I could barely operate the printer. I waited for Dylan to come home from work, my mind racing, a whirlwind of disbelief and anger. When he walked in, cheerful as always, asking about dinner, I just held out the printed agreement. He took it, glanced at it, and his smile faltered. He looked up at me, a flicker of something I couldn't quite decipher in his eyes. "What is this, Dylan?" I asked, my voice dangerously low. He mumbled something about it being complicated, about needing to explain. I told him to explain right then, right there. He hemmed and hawed, avoiding eye contact, finally admitting it was for sports betting. Sports betting. All those years of careful saving, of scrimping and planning, risked on sports bets. I felt a surge of rage so intense it was almost physical. "You used our children's college fund," I repeated, each word laced with ice. He finally looked at me, his expression shifting to defensiveness. "It's just collateral," he said, as if that made it okay. "I'm going to win it back. It's a sure thing." A sure thing. Those words echoed in my ears, mocking our years of responsible financial planning. "A sure thing?" I repeated, incredulous. "Dylan, you gambled our children's future on a sure thing?" He tried to explain, to rationalize, to minimize. He said he was stressed, that he needed an outlet, that he thought he could make a quick return and no one would ever know. He talked about expert picks, about algorithms, about how confident he was. It was all noise to me, all excuses, all betrayals. He didn't seem to grasp the magnitude of what he had done, the sheer irresponsibility, the utter disregard for our children's future, for my trust, for our marriage. He kept saying he was going to win it back, that I was overreacting. Overreacting? He had jeopardized our children's college education for a gamble. I told him to sleep in the guest room. I couldn't even look at him. I spent the night staring at the ceiling, replaying the conversation in my head, the betrayal sinking deeper with each passing hour. This morning, I feel numb, hollowed out. I don't know what to do. Divorce is flashing through my mind, a stark, unwelcome thought. But how can I stay with someone who would do this? Who would risk our children's future for a selfish, reckless gamble? I'm sick to my stomach. I need advice. I need to know if I'm overreacting. I need to know what to do next. Update 1: I haven't slept properly since I discovered the loan. The anger keeps bubbling up, hot and corrosive. This morning, I confronted Dylan again, more directly, more forcefully. I asked him point blank, "Do you have a gambling problem, Dylan?" He scoffed, rolling his eyes. "Don't be ridiculous," he said dismissively. "It was just a one-time thing, a moment of weakness." A moment of weakness that involved taking out a loan of this size, using our children's college fund as collateral. That didn't sound like a moment of weakness. That sounded like a calculated, deliberate act of extreme recklessness. I pressed him, listing the signs, the secrecy, the size of the bet, the denial. He became defensive, his voice rising. "I told you, it's just stress. Work has been crazy. I needed to blow off steam." "Bleach off steam?" I retorted, the plant incident from another part of my life flashing in my mind, the memory sharp and bitter. "By risking our children's future, that's how you blow off steam?" He shifted in his seat, avoiding my gaze. "Look, I know it was stupid, okay? I regret it. I'm going to fix it." "How, Dylan? How are you going to fix it?" He mumbled something about winning, about recouping the losses. I pressed him further, demanding specifics. He became evasive again, changing the subject, trying to placate me with promises and vague assurances. He said he was going to talk to someone, that he was going to get help. But he wouldn't admit he had a problem. He wouldn't acknowledge the depth of his betrayal. He just kept minimizing, deflecting, and promising things he couldn't guarantee. I told him I wanted to see bank statements, all of them, going back at least a year. I wanted to know the full extent of his gambling. Balked at this, calling it an invasion of privacy. Privacy? He had forfeited any right to privacy when he secretly jeopardized our children's future. I stood my ground, refusing to back down. Finally, after a tense silence, he reluctantly agreed. He logged into his personal account and showed me the statements. My heart sank as I scrolled through page after page of transactions, the sheer volume of bets, the constant flow of money in and mostly out. It was worse than I imagined. Much worse. It wasn't just a one-time thing. It had been going on for months, maybe longer. Small bets at first, then larger, then escalating to this massive loan. He had been hiding this, lying to me for who knows how long. The trust, already fractured, shattered completely. I felt a cold dread settle over me. This wasn't just a mistake. This was a pattern, a compulsion, a deep-rooted problem. The consequences are terrifying. If he loses this bet, if he can't pay back the loan, we lose the children's college fund. Years of saving gone, their future compromised, and the emotional toll is immense. The sense of betrayal, the feeling of being completely blindsided, it's overwhelming. I feel like I don't even know the man I married. He's a stranger, a reckless gambler who put his selfish desires above his family's well-being. I've contacted a financial advisor to understand the implications of the loan and the status of the 529 accounts. I'm also researching divorce lawyers. I know it's drastic, but I don't see how I can stay in a marriage built on lies and financial irresponsibility. The thought of raising our children with someone I can no longer trust, someone who would gamble away their future, is unbearable. I told Dylan I want him to move out. He protested, of course, but I was firm. I need space. I need to think. I need to protect my children. He's staying at a hotel for now. The house feels eerily quiet without him, but also strangely lighter, as if a heavy weight has been lifted. I'm still reeling, still processing, but one thing is clear. Life as I knew it is over. Everything has changed. Update 2, the financial advisor called me back this afternoon. The news was grim, as expected, but hearing it from a professional made it even more real, more devastating. The 529 accounts are indeed at risk. The loan agreement is ironclad. If Dylan defaults, the bank will seize the funds. There's no way around it. The advisor explained the potential long-term consequences, the impact on our children's ability to access higher education, the financial burden they could face. It was like a punch in the gut, each word a blow. I felt a wave of protective fury wash over me. I will not let this happen to my children. I will not let Dylan's recklessness destroy their future. I spent the afternoon digging deeper into Dylan's gambling. I found online forums, support groups, articles about compulsive gambling. The more I read, the more chillingly familiar it became. The secrecy, the denial, the escalating bets, the chasing losses, the desperation, it all fit. It wasn't just stress. It was an addiction. A serious, destructive addiction that he had been hiding from me, from everyone, for a long time. I called a therapist, specializing in addiction and family counseling. I need to understand this, to cope with this, to figure out how to move forward. I have an appointment scheduled for next week. I also contacted a divorce lawyer. I know it seems like I'm moving fast, but I need to protect myself and my children. I need to understand my options, to be prepared for the worst. The lawyer explained the legal implications, the process of separation and divorce, the potential division of assets, custody arrangements. It was overwhelming, daunting, but also strangely empowering. Taking control, making plans, felt like the only way to navigate this chaos. Tonight, Dylan called. He sounded different, subdued, almost defeated. He asked if he could come home just to talk. I hesitated, then agreed, but on my terms. He came over, looking haggard and tired. He sat on the couch across from me, a chasm of distance between us. He started talking, rambling almost, about the bets, about the pressure, about the illusion of control, about the thrill of the risk. He finally admitted it, the words tumbling out, raw and painful. "I think I have a problem," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "A gambling problem. I think I'm addicted." It was the first time he had said it aloud, the first time he had truly acknowledged the reality of his addiction. He talked about the shame, the guilt, the fear, the desperation. He talked about how it started small, how it spiraled out of control, how he felt trapped, unable to stop. He cried, real tears, tears of remorse, of fear, of self-loathing. I listened, mostly in silence, my heart a complex mix of emotions. Pity, anger, sadness, a flicker of something that might have been forgiveness, but not yet, not even close. He asked for another chance, begged me to believe him, promised to get help, to go to therapy, to do anything to fix it. He said he would sell his car, liquidate his savings, do whatever it took to repay the loan and protect the children's college fund. He said he understood if I couldn't forgive him, but he wanted to try to earn back my trust to save our marriage. I looked at him, really looked at him, at the broken, desperate man in front of me. Part of me wanted to believe him, to cling to the hope that we could salvage something from this wreckage. But another part of me, the rational, pragmatic part, was screaming caution, warning me against false promises, against repeating patterns of denial and betrayal. I told him I needed time. Time to think, time to process, time to decide what I wanted, what was best for me, for our children. I told him I would consider his offer, but there were no guarantees. He left, leaving me alone again with my thoughts, with the weight of this impossible decision. The future is uncertain, blurry, terrifying, but one thing is clear. I need to make a choice, a difficult, life-altering choice, and I need to make it soon. The children deserve a stable, secure future, and I deserve a life free from lies and betrayal. The path ahead is unclear, but I know I can't stay where I am, trapped in this web of deceit and broken trust. I have to move forward one step at a time, towards a future I can't yet see, but one where I can hopefully find peace and security for myself and my children. Resolution: it's been a month since I discovered the loan. A month of turmoil, of sleepless nights, of agonizing decisions. A month that has irrevocably changed the course of our lives. After weeks of therapy, both individual and couples, and countless hours of soul-searching, I've made a decision. I am filing for divorce. It wasn't an easy choice. Part of me, the part that still remembers the man I fell in love with, the father of my children, wanted to believe Dylan's promises to give him another chance. He has been going to Gamblers Anonymous meetings, attending therapy sessions, showing genuine remorse. He has even started the process of selling his prized vintage car to try and recoup some of the potential losses. But the trust is gone, shattered beyond repair. The betrayal is too deep, the damage too profound. I can't reconcile the man I thought I knew with the man who secretly gambled away our children's future. The financial advisor has been working tirelessly to mitigate the damage. We've restructured our finances, consolidated debts, and are exploring every possible avenue to protect the 529 accounts. It's a long road ahead, and there are no guarantees, but we are doing everything we can. The children are surprisingly resilient. Lily, being older, understands more than Ethan. She's been quiet, observant, processing everything in her own way. Ethan is more confused, missing his dad, asking questions I struggle to answer honestly without further upsetting him. We've been honest with them, age-appropriately, explaining that Daddy made some bad choices and that Mommy and Daddy are going to live in different houses now. It's heartbreaking to see their confusion and sadness, but I know in the long run, this is the best decision for all of us. Staying in a marriage riddled with lies and addiction would be more damaging, more detrimental to their well-being. Dylan is moving into a small apartment. He's been cooperative with the separation process, surprisingly so. Perhaps the gravity of his actions has finally sunk in. Perhaps he understands that he has lost everything, not just our marriage, but my trust, my respect, and a significant part of his children's admiration. He still calls, checks in on the kids, attends family therapy sessions with me. There's a fragile truce, a tentative co-parenting arrangement, but the intimacy, the love, the shared future is gone. The divorce proceedings are underway. It will be a long and arduous process, I know, but I am determined to navigate it with strength and grace for my children's sake. I'm focusing on building a new future, a future where I am in control, where I am making responsible choices, where I am prioritizing my children's well-being above all else. It's a future without Dylan, a future I never envisioned, but a future I am determined to face with courage and resilience. The road ahead will be challenging, no doubt, but I am no longer afraid. I have faced the worst, and I have survived. I am stronger than I thought, more resilient than I knew. And for my children, I will keep fighting, keep moving forward, keep building a life filled with love, security, and hope, even in the aftermath of this devastating betrayal. The future is uncertain, but I am not. I will protect my children, and we will be okay. My sister spread a rumor that I'm having an affair with my father-in-law after I refused to lend her money, and now my family thinks I'm a horrible person. What should I do? It's honestly unbelievable the level of petty some people can sink to. I'm still reeling from what my sister Kara has done and honestly just need to vent and maybe get some outside perspective because I feel like I'm going crazy. For context, my sister Kara and I have always had a complicated relationship. Sibling rivalry is normal, I guess, but with us it always felt a bit sharper, a bit more competitive. As adults, we've tried to be better, to be supportive of each other, but there's always been this undercurrent of tension. Recently, Kara has been struggling financially. She's always been a bit impulsive with money and hasn't really managed to build any savings. She called me last week asking for a loan. It wasn't a small amount, she wanted $5,000. I'm not exactly swimming in cash myself, but I'm comfortable and I do have some savings. However, Kara has a history of borrowing money and not paying it back. It's not that she's malicious, she just seems to have a blind spot when it comes to financial responsibility. I've lent her money before, smaller amounts, and it's always been like pulling teeth to get it back, if I get it back at all. So this time, with such a large amount, I just couldn't do it. I told her I wasn't in a position to lend her that much right now, which was partially true, and partially a polite way of saying no, without getting into the whole history of unpaid debts. I tried to be gentle. I suggested she look into payment plans, budgeting apps, even offered to help her find resources for financial counseling. She did not take it well. She started getting defensive, saying I was being selfish, that I didn't care about her struggles, that if I really was her sister, I would help her out. I stood my ground, reiterated that I couldn't lend her that amount, and tried to end the conversation as calmly as possible. I thought that was the end of it, just another slightly awkward sibling interaction that we would both eventually forget. I was so wrong. Yesterday, my mother-in-law called me. She sounded really upset, her voice was tight and strained. She asked me if everything was all right between me and my father-in-law, Dennis. I was immediately confused. Dennis is a lovely man, we get along really well, he's always been kind and supportive. I told her yes, everything was fine, why was she asking? That's when she dropped the bomb. Apparently, Kara had been calling family members, including my mother-in-law, and spreading this absolutely vile rumor that I'm having an affair with my father-in-law. I was speechless. I literally couldn't say anything for a moment. My mother-in-law, bless her heart, didn't seem to believe it for a second. She knows me, she knows Dennis, she knows how ridiculous this sounds. But she was still incredibly upset and hurt that Kara would even say something like that, especially about her own father. She said Kara had been very vague, hinting at things, saying she was worried about me and Dennis, that she'd seen things, heard things, but wouldn't elaborate, just planting this seed of suspicion and disgust. My mother-in-law was calling to warn me, to let me know what Kara was doing and to reassure me that she didn't believe it. I thanked her, still completely stunned. After I hung up, I felt this wave of anger wash over me. How could she? How could she be so malicious, so cruel? To spread such a disgusting lie, especially involving my father-in-law who has done nothing but be kind to her and to me, and all because I wouldn't lend her money. It's so disproportionate, so over the top, it's almost comical if it wasn't so damaging. I called my husband, Hudson, and told him everything. He was just as shocked and angry as I was. He knows Kara can be dramatic, but even he was floored by this. He immediately called his father to warn him and to apologize on behalf of our family for Kara's behavior. Dennis was understandably upset too, not just for himself but for me, for our family. He said he was disgusted by Kara's actions and that he would be having a conversation with her himself. I'm just so hurt and angry and honestly a little embarrassed. What if other family members believe it? What if this rumor spreads further? My reputation is being dragged through the mud because my sister is mad that I wouldn't give her $5,000. I'm trying to stay calm, to think rationally, but I'm just seething. I want to confront Kara, to demand an explanation, to make her understand the damage she's causing. But I also don't want to give her the satisfaction of a reaction. I don't know what to do. Has anyone else dealt with anything like this? How do you even respond to something so outrageous? Update 1: the fallout from Kara's rumor bomb has been even worse than I initially imagined. It's like she threw a rock into a still pond, and the ripples are just spreading everywhere, getting bigger and uglier. After my mother-in-law's call and my conversation with Hudson and Dennis, I decided to take a deep breath and try to approach this somewhat rationally, at least initially. I texted Kara. I kept it brief and direct. I said, "Mom-in-law called. Heard about the rumors you're spreading about me and Dennis. This needs to stop now. We need to talk." Her response was immediate and infuriating. "Oh, so now you're running to mommy? Typical. Maybe if you weren't doing anything wrong, you wouldn't be so worried." I just stared at my phone, my blood pressure rising. I wanted to fire back, to unleash all the anger and hurt I was feeling, but I knew that would just escalate things and probably give her exactly what she wanted: a dramatic reaction. So I took another deep breath and texted back, "This isn't a joke, Kara. You're spreading a disgusting lie that is hurting a lot of people. I'm not going to argue with you over text. Let's meet and talk face to face." She agreed, surprisingly, but insisted it had to be on her terms, at a coffee shop near her apartment, and only for an hour because she was busy. I met her this morning. I tried to stay calm, to keep my voice level, but honestly, just being in the same room with her after what she'd done was making my skin crawl. I started by asking her directly, "Why are you spreading these rumors, Kara? Why are you saying these things about me and Dennis?" She avoided eye contact, stirring her coffee and saying in this faux innocent voice, "What rumors? I'm just concerned about you, Alina. You've been spending a lot of time with Dennis lately." I almost laughed. Spending time with Dennis. Kara, he's my father-in-law. We see him at family dinners, holidays, the occasional lunch with Hudson. It's called being part of a family, you know this. She shrugged, still not looking at me. Well, people are talking. I've heard things. Heard things from who, Kara? From the voices in your head? You made this up because I wouldn't lend you money. This is your revenge because I said no to you. Her eyes finally flickered up to meet mine, and there was this flash of something in them, a mix of defiance and something almost like satisfaction. Maybe I just want you to understand what it feels like to be judged, Alina. You're always so quick to judge me, to look down on me for my choices, for my financial situation. Maybe this is just karma catching up to you. I was honestly stunned. She actually thought she was justified in doing this. Karma. Kara, I didn't do anything to you to deserve this. I said no to a loan, that's it. And you're retaliating by trying to destroy my reputation, by trying to poison my family against me. This is beyond petty, it's malicious. The conversation went downhill from there. She kept deflecting, denying, trying to twist everything around to make me the bad guy. She even had the audacity to say that maybe I should examine my relationship with Dennis if people were talking. I finally lost my temper. I stood up, leaned across the table and said, "You know this is a lie, Kara. You know it's disgusting and wrong. And you're doing it anyway because you're angry and selfish. I'm done with this. I'm done with you." I walked out and left her sitting there, stirring her coffee, probably already planning her next move. Since then, things have escalated with other family members. My aunt called, sounding hesitant and awkward, asking if there was anything I wanted to share about Dennis. My uncle sent a curt text saying he was disappointed in my behavior, without even specifying what behavior he was talking about, just blindly believing Kara's poison. It's like a wildfire, this rumor is spreading, and I'm just watching it burn, feeling helpless to stop it. Hudson is furious. He wants to confront Kara, to call out every family member who is giving her credence, but I'm trying to hold him back. I don't want to make this even bigger, even more dramatic. Dennis is also incredibly upset, especially for his wife. He and my mother-in-law are considering talking to Kara's parents to try and get them to intervene, but honestly, I don't know if anything will work. It feels like Kara has crossed a line I'm not sure we can ever come back from. The worst part is the feeling of being judged, of having my character questioned. I've always tried to be a good person, a good wife, a good daughter-in-law, and now this. It's like everything I've built, everything I value, is being undermined by this ridiculous, hateful lie. I'm starting to feel like maybe ignoring it isn't the right approach. Maybe I need to fight back, to publicly refute these rumors, to make sure everyone knows the truth. But how do you even fight against something so baseless, so absurd? Update 2: the fallout continues, and it's getting messier and more complicated by the day. Ignoring Kara and her rumors clearly wasn't working. It was just letting the lie fester and spread. So, Hudson and I decided we needed to take a more proactive approach, but we wanted to do it carefully, strategically, without stooping to Kara's level of drama and negativity. First, we talked to Dennis and my mother-in-law again. They were incredibly supportive and agreed that something needed to be done to stop this before it spiraled completely out of control. Dennis, being the level-headed and respected figure he is in the family, decided he would take the lead in addressing the rumors directly. He called a family meeting. Not a formal, sit-down dinner type meeting, but more of an open invitation for anyone who wanted to come and hear his side of the story, and mine. He made it clear that this was about addressing the rumors Kara was spreading and setting the record straight. To my surprise, a good number of family members showed up. Not everyone, of course, but enough to make a difference. My aunt and uncle who had contacted me earlier, several cousins, even Kara's parents were there, though Kara herself was conspicuously absent. Dennis started by speaking calmly and directly. He acknowledged that rumors had been circulating, rumors about him and me, and he wanted to address them head-on. He stated unequivocally that these rumors were completely false, malicious, and deeply hurtful. He spoke about his respect for me, his strong relationship with Hudson, and his disgust that anyone, especially within the family, would fabricate such a lie. Then it was my turn to speak. I was nervous, my hands were shaking, but I knew I had to do this, not just for myself, but for my marriage, for my family. I echoed Dennis's words, emphasizing the absurdity and cruelty of the rumors. I explained that this all stemmed from Kara being angry that I wouldn't lend her money, that this was her twisted way of retaliating. I laid out the timeline of events, from Kara's initial request for money to the phone call from my mother-in-law, to my confrontation with Kara. I tried to be as honest and straightforward as possible, letting my emotions show without becoming overly dramatic or accusatory. The reaction from the family members present was mixed, but largely positive. Many expressed shock and disbelief at Kara's behavior. My aunt and uncle apologized for their earlier messages, admitting they had jumped to conclusions based on Kara's vague insinuations. Kara's parents were visibly embarrassed and ashamed, promising to talk to her and try to get her to stop. However, there were still some lingering doubts, some hesitant glances, some unspoken questions in the air. I could tell that even after our explanations, some family members were still unsure what to believe or maybe just uncomfortable with the whole situation. The real turning point came when Hudson spoke. He had been quiet throughout Dennis's and my statements, but when he finally spoke, his words carried weight and conviction. He spoke about his love and trust for me, his deep respect for his father, and his utter disgust at Kara's attempt to damage our family. He said, "Kara is my sister, and I love her, but what she has done is unforgivable. To spread such a vile lie about my wife and my father, just because she didn't get what she wanted, is beyond comprehension. I stand by Alina, I stand by my father, and I will not tolerate anyone in this family giving credence to these disgusting rumors." His words seemed to resonate deeply with everyone present. His unwavering support, his clear condemnation of Kara's actions, it seemed to finally solidify the truth in everyone's minds. After the family meeting, things started to shift, slowly but surely. The phone calls and awkward texts stopped. The hesitant glances faded. Family members started reaching out to me and Hudson, expressing their support and apologizing for any doubts they might have had. Kara's parents called us, distraught and apologetic. They had spoken to Kara, and apparently it was not a pleasant conversation. They admitted they were at a loss for how to handle her, but they promised to do everything they could to make her understand the gravity of her actions and to stop spreading the rumors. Kara herself has remained silent. She hasn't reached out to me, to Hudson, or to Dennis. She's essentially retreated, probably realizing that her plan backfired and that she's alienated herself from a large part of the family. The situation is still not completely resolved. The damage is done and the trust is broken. It will take time to heal, to rebuild relationships, and to fully move past this. But for now, at least the rumors have been addressed, the truth has been spoken, and I feel like we've taken back some control over the narrative. It's not a neat, happy ending, but it's a step in the right direction. And maybe, just maybe, Kara will eventually realize the enormity of what she's done and the consequences of her actions.